What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's happening here in our country on a daily basis. Congress right now is scurrying along here, trying to come up here with a funding bill for the government and also potentially trying to come up with child tax credits, adult tax credits before the end of the year, or even maybe after the end of the year, depending on what might happen here, with a whole slew of things with a deal making process that could happen if they can get a lot of things done here. We'll see here. We'll see here. First, we're going to start with the Republican leader, Kevin McCarthy, who's the current leader of the Republicans. He's the minority leader. Nancy McCarthy, Nancy Pelosi is the House Speaker. She's going to be stepping down from a leadership role next year. She did get reelected, but she said she doesn't want to be in leadership anymore next year for the Democrats. So she will be there for 2 more years, but she's stepping down from leadership next year. So Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans are taking over the leadership in the House. Kevin McCarthy hasn't been elected as the speaker yet. There's a little bit of a problem with that. Some Republicans don't want to vote for him. So we'll see what happens on that. But here's Kevin McCarthy on what's going on here with this government funding and some of their priorities for what might happen here going forward here. Take a listen and let me know your thoughts on this.
Now the question is why are Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans looking to help Democrats with their massive spending spree when all they should be agreeing to is a short-term continuing resolution to fund the government so the new GOP-controlled House will have a say? And my advice is to call up every Republican senator and say no to any omnibus spending bill that helps Schumer and the Socialist Democrats. Why any Republican would ever go along with that is madness. Joining me now, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy. Before I get to the omnibus part, Hunter Biden went up to you and your mom. How'd that go?
It didn't come up to me. He came up to my 82-year-old mother that's a little hard of hearing and recently recovering from cancer. He shook her hand and said something, but I'm not quite sure my mom knew who he was, so I don't quite understand what they said.
Okay, let me go to this omnibus spending bill. We've had since 1954 5 changes in terms of power and control in the House of Representatives. Not one time have we ever passed an omnibus spending bill in the interim before the new Congress was sworn in. Why would Republican senators, especially in light of the fact we just hit, $31 trillion in debt, why would they go along with Chuck Schumer and this reckless spending of the Democratic Socialist Party and not wait until you can be a check and a balance to any money that is spent? Why would they do that? Why would the Republican senators go along with that?
Well, I'd hope they would not. And for all your viewers, what's an omnibus mean? It means the 12 appropriations, all the domestic spending that you believe in from the Department of Agriculture and others. And what they're doing is the 2 people who lead this in appropriations, Senator Leahy and Senator Shelby, will no longer be here in 21 days. They did not run for re-election. So there's no way that the taxpayer or the constituent can hold them accountable for what they're about to do. Why wouldn't you wait 21 more days? What they're talking about is adding the baseline, meaning where would we start in the next year? They want to increase it somewhere between $90 and $130 billion. Instead of saving money, instead of cutting back in this world of inflation that we have, why wouldn't we, if we do nothing in a CR, we're going to save ourselves almost $100 billion. That's the hard-earned taxpayer money. And are you going to get a time to read it? They're trying to jam us right before Christmas. Why would you ever move forward when there's a change in power in 21 days where Republicans would have a stronger hand? That we wouldn't be talking about adding more money, we'd talk about decreasing. Where would our priorities be? We'd be talking about holding people more accountable, getting rid of the waste, the fraud, and the abuse, making sure the Department of Defense has the resources they need to defend themselves. But that's not going to happen here because what committee is going to see this? Who's going to bring this up? Are 2 individuals who are leaving the Senate going to write a bill where they add $100 billion more dollars? An individual is going to write it. This is going to be thousands of pages. How would they have any ability?
They won't
I
have
know why
time
the
to read it.
Democrats want to do it. You've got to understand why the Democrats want to do it. Because if they put on all their direction, all the things they care most about, and we end up in the next year where we can't come to an agreement and you end up with a continuing resolution, all the values that they just put in continue going forward. That's why we should wait and not let the Democrats add any new thing without the American public
Okay,
going through
but to
committee.
be clear, this has to
Yes.
be stopped in the Senate. This
It
has
does.
to
It's
be
not
Mitch
happening in the
McConnell
House.
leading the way. And then when the new Congress, when you are sworn in, when the new Congress is sworn in, you will have the ability to have a say. And you will be able to cut the waste, the fraud, and the abuse, which was part of your commitments to America. That would be your first promise fulfilled, right?
And think about what else we could put in this appropriation bill. We could put in about securing the border. We could put in about energy independence. This
IRS
is actually
agents.
ability to legislate. Exactly. But think about, the Democrats have been in power. They've had the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And they didn't do this job. So why would Republicans help them now to put in the things they care about? Why not wait 21 days and let what the American public just said in the last election, to have a new direction, to become energy independent, take away these 87,000 new IRS agents, make the border secure, let the parents have a say in their kids' education. You know what? Hold this government accountable at the same time. Why would you do it in the middle of Christmas?
Every
no
single
excuse.
person watching needs to call their senator tomorrow and say no to the omnibus spending bill. Let the new Republican House have a say in how much money, how much of your money that they're going to be able to spend here. The Senate doing this, even considering this, is reckless beyond any comprehension I have. Richard Shelby, great career. What he's doing here is wrong. It's full of waste, fraud, and abuse. He won't have time to read it, and neither will any other senator. Let me move on.
But you want to be able to hold those people accountable, right? The people who would vote for this are in the
They're
lame duck.
leaving.
Many of them are not coming back. So why doesn't have, if you're going to vote for this much money, let the constituents have a say whether it's right or wrong. Wait 21 days. That's all we're asking.
Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Now, to be fair here on a couple different points, they will need Republican votes here in the Senate, and Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans, isn't exactly just, I mean, he's not exactly a Democrat. He's bashed Democrats for decades, and he's negotiating on all of this stuff. Okay, so it's not like the Democrats are just writing the bill and Mitch McConnell signing off. Mitch McConnell's far from a Democratic supporter. Okay, so he's doing what they need to do and on this. So Mitch McConnell has his own agenda. Let's be clear, Mitch McConnell's never been a Democratic supporter. I think we all know that. Okay, but it's interesting to see the Republicans bashing their own Republican Party. A lot of dissent here. A lot of dissent here. It'll be interesting to see going forward what will happen. A very divided party. Yeah, remember Mitch McConnell's been the leader in the Senate for years, and they're going to need 10 Republicans in the Senate to vote on this. So it's not just one person there. It's going to be, you know, several of them. So we'll see. It'll be that, or there'll be a government shutdown, on which millions of people that are, depend on government jobs for food, their paychecks, rent, housing, to put food on the table will not get their paychecks and will, not be able to get their, not be able to go to work. So we'll see, and there's a lot on the line here. I'll keep you up to date. Next up, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is the one or two leading candidates for the Republican Party, along with Trump. He's calling for an investigation into Dr. Fauci and the vaccines. Well, Dr. Fauci says Fauci responds to DeSantis's call for the vaccine investigation here, saying outgoing White House medical advisor Anthony Fauci said Wednesday that he, quote, doesn't have a clue what Florida Governor Ron DeSantis hopes to accomplish by calling for a state grand jury investigation into alleged, quote, crimes related to the vaccines. He says, quote, I don't have a clue what he's asking for. I mean, we have a vaccine that unequivocally is highly effective and safe and has saved literally millions of lives. Fauci, who's also the director at the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said. DeSantis here this week announced his office had petitioned for a grand jury investigation into alleged crimes and wrongdoing against Floridians, quote, related to the development, promotion, and distribution of the vaccines. The governor also shared plans to establish public health integrity committee due to distrust of the CDC, saying, quote, anything they put out, you just assume at this point that it's not worth the paper that it's printed on. That's a quote directly from DeSantis. Fauci said, quote, so what's the problem with vaccines? I mean, vaccines are life-saving. So quite frankly, I'm not sure what they're trying to do down there. It's been politicized, and it's been politicized in a way that's actually cost lives, Fauci added of the vaccine, calling the virus the common enemy, and that Americans should unite around it regardless of party and in spite of mis and disinformation, saying, quote, we're all in this together, we're all human beings, and we're all susceptible to a disease that can kill us. When people's lives are being lost about this, maybe that'll shake people up enough to realize that we've got to start pulling together and not against each other. Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts here on this. What are your thoughts? And what are your thoughts about what DeSantis said about the CDC? That it's not worth the paper that they write it on. Yeah, I mean, remember the CDC's been around for decades. Yeah, let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Next up, here is some new information coming out here about Paul Whelan, who's the ex-U.S. Marine over there in Russia that's still there. Remember, former President Donald Trump was not able to get him out. He was captured in 2018 by Russia, and the Paul Whelan's brother criticized him, saying that Trump didn't even try to get him out. And then there was a lot of criticism on why they got Brittany Griner out, the two-time Olympic gold medalist. Well, here's what the White House has to say, with some new information here. Check this out.
The big challenge we had over the course of the past several months is that what Russia was asking for to secure Paul Whelan's release was not something that we had to be able to give. That is a problem we are trying to solve. Our commitment to this is absolutely rock solid, intense, and this is as high a priority as the president has.
Joining us now, John Kirby, Coordinator for Strategic Communications for President Biden's National Security Council. There, I got your title correctly.
You did.
John, thank you for being with us. So, State Department officials say that they talked to the Whelan family, of course. Were they able to give the Whelan family any kind of positive updates about contacts with Russia?
Well, I don't want to get into negotiating here in public, as you might imagine we wouldn't want to do. But we were able to give them an update of where we are, what our thinking is, and sort of help them understand the path forward to try to get Paul home. I want to be careful here and make it clear that we don't have a deal in place right now. I don't want to convey that, but we certainly are smarter after weeks and months of trying to get Paul out previous to getting Ms. Griner out. we certainly have a better understanding of the context behind Russian expectations, and we'll be able to use that going forward, as Mr. Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, said yesterday, use that going forward to try to get to an actual release of Mr. Whelan.
What Jake Sullivan just said, as you heard, was that the Russians were insisting on us giving up something we didn't have control over. That was the Russian assassin in Germany, as has been widely reported, as we reported back in the summer, correct? A German prisoner.
That's right. It was an individual we simply didn't have in our custody. So it wasn't a commitment we could make. But again, as Mr. Sullivan said yesterday, we're going to continue to try to resolve that issue so that not the issue specifically with an individual necessarily, but resolve the issue that surrounded our inability to get Paul back, which is, trying to produce something we couldn't produce.
Officials have been very clear during the release of Brittany Griner that the Russians want a spy for Paul Whelan. We say he's not a spy. He says he's not a spy, and that we do not have a Russian spy in American custody.
He's not a spy. These are sham espionage charges. It's pretty clear to us that the Russians treat him differently because of those charges. And again, I want to be careful that I'm not negotiating in public. It's just that there was no way that they would exchange Mr. Boot for Mr. Whelan. The only exchange possible to us was Mr. Boot for Ms. Griner. And it's related to the fact that they believe he is something different than he actually is. They don't believe him to be a criminal the way they hold Mr. Boot. They believe that he was a spy.
And to use your phraseology, we have no one different in our custody that we could offer up?
I would just tell you that we don't have anybody in our custody that would meet the criteria Russia was asking for.
They're clearly talking about espionage, and we're not. I'll finish that thought and not put those words into your mouth.
Yeah, so there you have it. Russia doesn't want to trade for anybody we have for Paul Whelan yet. They want it for an assassin that Germany has. So, yeah, this is the thing about Russia, man. There's this often unreasonable about a lot of things. So, yeah, Paul Whelan's been in there since 2018 underneath former President Donald Trump and might be there for a while. They're saying that they wouldn't trade for Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner wasn't an option. So they couldn't have traded for Griner at all. It wasn't an option to trade there. So let me know your thoughts here in the comments, and I will keep you up to date here on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet. Just click the subscribe button. It's completely free to do so. And then the bell icon so you don't miss out on new videos that come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And thanks for liking and sharing these videos. You can click here to watch my newest video next, or you can click here to watch my newest video of checks that are going out to millions of Americans that you might not even know about in December. So click on one of those videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.